true. Sometimes funny, sometimes it's sick.
Greetings and welcome to the Department of Tangents podcast, a conversation with comics artist and creator and musician Guy Gilchrist, with new music from Ted Drozdowski's Coyote Motel. I'm your host, Nick Zano. This is inadvertently a Nashville-themed edition, as both Gilchrist and Drozdowski ply their trades in Music City, and for the second week in a row, the featured guest has a Jim Henson connection. A bit from his bio, Gilchrist created the Muppets comic strip and worked on Fraggle Rock and the Muppet Babies, but he also took over the comic strip Nancy for a number of years and worked on cartoons from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the Pink Panther. And if that weren't enough, he's also an accomplished singer-songwriter, which is why I brought my guitar in case I could convince him to play a tune or two, which he does just before the conversation begins, and later in a separate segment at his booth at the Northeast Comic-Con and Collectibles Extravaganza. I was fortunate to sit down with Guy in front of a live audience at the con, and Gilchrist was also one of the first people I met there. We talked at his booth where he was doing custom drawings for fans. He looked down at my laminate and said, "You're underdressed." I handed him the laminate and he drew Kermit in a Red Sox cap. The Sox are his favorite team, and since they had just won the World Series, Gilchrist was in a great mood. It makes sense he would appreciate such a pastoral game. It became clear to me as we spoke how much he treasures gentleness and how much he sincerely wants to make the world a more loving place. Just don't mention zombies to him. You can hear that for yourself a little while later why. He is passionate and irrepressible. I directed this interview the way a bumper directs a pinball. That's why they have a panel with just me, he says at one point. Everybody gets pissed off. After the interview, stick around for new music from next week's guest, Ted Drozdowski, from his new album, Coyote Motel. And now, Guy Gilchrist.
So, anytime I go into Robert's Western World on Broadway in Nashville, no matter what song they're playing when I walk in, if Chris Scruggs is running the band that day, that's Earl Scruggs' grandson.
Oh.
You know? They just started with Muppet Babies will make our dreams come true. Muppet Babies will do the same for you, right? Muppet, 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 Muppet Babies. You know? Yeah, I don't know. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to do. So we've been told, and some choose to believe. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers. Okay.
That's enough of that?
Yeah, I think so. Bill was really, really nice. I saw Burton Gilliam the other day, I don't know, in St. Louis over the summer. And he was playing golf with Paul Williams, and Burton was in the booth next to me, you know, in St. Louis somewhere. And Cardinals had a good year. Anyway, not as good as the Sox, though. All right. But anyway, it was really, really cool because he said he was playing golf with Paul and told him I was going to see you. And Paul said, "Tell Guy that Rainbow Connection is my favorite song I ever wrote." That's Paul Williams, man.
Who
I
popped
mean,
up
like
in
a
so many weird
thousand,
places.
like 1,000 #1 records that everyone knows, and entire movies, and obviously entire movies. 3 for Jim, right? And that's his favorite song, and that was really, really nice. And so I had a Rainbow Connection painting that I had done, and gave it to Burton to give to Paul. And I just found out that Paul is handwriting a set of lyrics and sending them to me. Have a nice life,
That's
Nice
beautiful.
life.
That's
I have
well,
a
that-
very, a very, very nice life.
The Muppets are, I think, a transition for a lot of kids from sort of the kids to early teens or into that. It helps you. I think the Muppets help you move forward.
I
as a
hope
kid.
so. I hope so. I'll never ever be able to figure out, how God works. We can only just say we're very grateful. Because there were 200 people that, tried out, for what the job I got,
For the Muppets comic strip.
Yeah, to be Jim's cartoonist, and he chose the absolute least qualified person out of 200 after 2 years, but I think part of it, I think artistically, he thought that I kind of drew like Walt Kelly, and that I was writing my own stuff, and immediately I took them out of the theater. I didn't keep them in a theater with a lot of bricks and stuff. I had them out in the world and stuff immediately, because I didn't know what I was doing. I honestly just didn't.
That can be such a help.
Yeah. When you're really young and stupid, that's when miracles happen, because you're not afraid,
Right.
And but I think that the reason that we loved each other so much, and the reason I got along with, Jerry and Michael, Michael was like it for me, Michael Frith. Besides the Walt Kelly thing, was that we truly did things out of love for Jim. You didn't want to disappoint Jim, and Jim was the greatest boss, because he would give you a job and then not tell you how to do it, and he'd just sort of leave it up to you. He was a man of very few words and incredible gentle power. He knew who he was, and he just carried it very gracefully, and he knew how badly, kids like me and Steve Whitmire, right? We're the youngest kids he ever hired, and of course he had Steve on a leash, in production, and he, made sure that Michael had me on a leash doing all the other stuff. But when you say that, that it's a transitional thing, I think it always cracked me up, like when they did that horrible ABC show a couple years ago,
Weren't a fan of that.
I mean, no, how stupid was that to not have 2-minute skits like SNL does and make it go viral? I mean, I'm around. You could have called me. I wouldn't have even charged you. All right? I mean, I write everything I draw, so maybe I might know something. Jerry's not around, but we worked a lot together. Call me. I'll tell you something. No, I mean, they did what they. But anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting that they were saying, "Oh, this is a more adult Muppets." It all was adult. We wrote for everyone. Everyone. That's why Looney Tunes is great, because they wrote for everybody.
Well, I
And
still
some
go back and
jokes
watch
go-
those movies frequently.
Right. It's like we wrote with the idea that everyone would be together watching it, and we all had the same philosophy that, the world's a messed up place,
let's laugh, let's enjoy each other, let's try to get together, let's try to love each other, whether we're a pig or Frogger or a Gonzo, we're all the same. And and honestly, I mean, if you go to my websites and stuff like that, it always says, and people think it's a joke, world peace through cartoons, puppets, and rock and roll. I'm going to tell you though, if there was a movie theater big enough for the whole world, you could put a Walter Lantz, Woody Woodpecker cartoon on, and the Muppet movie, and at the end of it, every single person that had a problem with any other person, whether they wanted to blow them up or just bitch about not having a bathroom with their name on it, because they're like half penguin, half dolphin, whatever, I don't know. Everyone would be singing along with Rainbow Connection, and everyone would be smiling. And that's what it was all about from the get-go. And and if we didn't have an ending, Animal just came in, broke everything down, or we had some giant monster come in and eat everything.
Right. And you worked on, how many different Muppet properties did you work on? You worked on the comic strip, you worked on Muppet Babies?
All of them. All of them. Yeah, except I didn't work on Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, except, because those were the English, properties and stuff that, except, I did a couple of little things. Just the thing was, I was around 117 East 69, and I was around. I lived in Connecticut, but I was around, and I'd either be downstairs with Jim Mahan and Rick Wetzel and those guys, or all the way in the basement where the puppets were made, or up at Michael's office, or somewhere around when I wasn't busting my butt writing and drawing the strip at home. I'd be there. And so stuff would happen. You'd just be sitting, Michael had an office, but be in between Michael's office and Patricia, his secretary, there was a little sort of anteroom. And a lot of times just all of us would just sit there, because there was so much stuff going on, and we would just sit there with tracing paper and stuff, and blue line this and blue line that, and draw this and draw that and everything. And it was everything, like all the time. And there are a lot of properties that people have forgotten that I worked very hard on, like, creating all of the model sheets and everything for the Pigs in Space animated stuff, and Little Muppet Monsters and Dog City and all kinds of stuff, that, I didn't sign the stuff or anything. You just did it. People freak out, I know, it's really cool and everything, but everybody just really loved writing and drawing. And somebody told me I've drawn 160,000 drawings. They're probably right. I have a cane. I have to get shot up in steroids like I'm Schwarzenegger or something, in this arm, But it was like, it's nothing to sit there, with a piece of tracing paper and blue line. Blue lining, by the way, means you take a piece of tracing paper and you put it over somebody's artwork, okay, that's sent in something, let's say for a record, a little record sleeve, record sleeve, of Fraggles or Dark Rose, whatever, okay? And so they're working on it, but it doesn't look good to you, okay? And it might just be the eyes are off. That's usually it, the eyes are off. The focus isn't right, or something, or it's too busy, or it's just whatever it is.
Is this in animation you're talking about?
No, this is in products and
in
stuff.
products.
Or model sheets that are coming through for an animated project overseas that you're not, working directly with Marvel, whatever it happens to be. But you piles of stuff, okay? So you're going through and you're and I could sit there in 2 hours and blue line 130 different products and say, okay, here, Joan. And then she'd go give them to whoever she had to give them to. And meanwhile, we're just like drinking coffee, talking about stuff, about our real job. But we're all just sitting there doing this because you had to. When you have like 10,000 things going on, you have 10,000 things going on.
Despite any other pain you might have, when you're doing that, you don't feel it because it's either because you've developed the muscles from doing it for so long, or it's just that you enjoy doing it.
It's a joy. It's a joy. And, you guys always ask stuff like, who's your favorite Muppet to draw? Or who's your favorite character to draw? Or what character do you enjoy doing the most? Or what story do you like to write the most? Or what was your favorite arc? Or what's your favorite this or that? Or, because I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, it's funny, you go by those pop things, the pops?
Yeah, the pop dolls.
It's like I walk by there and I go, half of them are mine. It's insane. Anyway, but you know what the answer always is? The one I'm doing for you right now. It's the only one that matters. It's baseball. It's baseball, man. It's like, I played baseball and, you're up at bat and there's this one particular pitcher and you've been paying attention to him. If you're any good, and you're trying to figure out his tendencies and stuff, and basically, he's got a fastball, a curveball, and a something else. And you're trying to figure out what he's going to toss you. It's going to be a fastball, curveball, or something else. And your head's in it right now, and that's it. Because that's the only thing that's important. And that's the only that's important.
Is it like that with everything you do, or is it mainly just the Muppets?
No,
and
everything is important. I think the problem, I'm going to be an old guy. I mean, Walter Brennan for a minute. Hey, kids, get out of my yard. All right? So, I'm going to tell you, okay? So, zombies, the problem is, okay, no one knows how to focus. Okay? We would have probably had the same problem. Okay? We had drugs and stuff, but, we had good music too. But we also had books, and we had friends, and we had clubs, and we had ball teams, or, folks you hung with, and you looked at comic books, and you all tried to copy, whoever it was, Neil Adams or whatever. But now, you have a computer, like, attached to your face at all times. Mom told you to watch where you're going and think about what you're doing. Zombies are the most popular monster. That's stupid, they suck. We had the greatest monsters, man. We had Lon Chaney going like, I don't want to be the Wolfman, I don't want to be, begging, Maria Ostenskaya, freaking out, across the room from Abbott and Costello, right? I mean, we had Creature from the Black Lagoon. By the way, Creature from the Black Lagoon, greatest Elvis movie without Elvis, right? Because, think about it. So Creature from the Black Lagoon is, totally hot for Julie Adams, right? Who would it be? Think about it. This is an Elvis movie. So, if there's the river and everything, and there's the boat, right? And Julie Adams comes by, and it's Elvis going, okay, she's on that boat, done. But it's the Creature from the Black Lagoon, you don't have a shot. Just think about it. Okay, anyway.
Well, there could have been there's a possibility there for a clam bake Creature from the Black Lagoon crossover.
We're gonna have a creature. Okay.
Mama's little baby loves clam bake.
My little baby loves creature. My little baby loves my little creature. My little creature from the Black Lagoon.
Well, the only way we can do that now is
I got that now. All right, so anyway. So, zombies. So here's why. They walk at 0.0000059 miles per hour. So you can take a nap and then turn around, and when you shake their hand, half of them falls off. Okay, what the hell's scary about that? Here's what's scary. The zombie apocalypse is in your pocket and you're like this on Facebook. That's why, you know, we did all this stuff because we were creatively bored. You know, it's like you read books and you copied stuff because you didn't have a television set attached to your face. You know, and it's so weird because like now you can be your own TV. No matter how stupid, ignorant, or mean you are, you can broadcast, you know, whatever garbage you want. You know,
I've been doing it for 3 years.
Huh?
I've been doing it for 3 years.
Well, no, you're cool, man. But what about these people that go like, you know, hey, everybody sucks and blah, 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 you know? And no, you know, and I think it's really, really cool. I think the internet's awesome, and I think the ability to broadcast, like we broadcast the whole thing this morning, you know, from here, 12 folks stuff. I think it's really awesome because, you know, you used to, we dealt with the gatekeepers, you know, the gatekeepers, the publishers, you know, TV people. And now you can do that. But just like television can become a complete wasteland, so can your mind. And, you know, and so can the internet if not used properly.
Well, like the gatekeepers thing is kind of a double-edged sword because,
Yes.
you know, the gatekeepers would keep things that maybe should get out. You know, they keep things from coming up, but they also, there's that Frank Zappa video that was going around a while ago where he said, you know, we were kind of better off with the old guys who didn't know what they had
That's
in the managing position
Dude.
because they would just say, whatever works, go
no,
out, I don't
dude,
understand it.
It is absolutely incredibly true. I saw that, and I had never seen that before. I thought I'd seen pretty much everything, but he talked about as much as me. No one talks as much as me. That's why they have a panel with just me, because everyone gets pissed off. But yeah, I agree. See, I think that music and television and movies and everything were better when the jerks were in charge because you had to be awesome. And then if MGM didn't want it, you know, or RCA Records didn't want it, you had Sun, you know, or Verve or Capricorn. You know, so you had an alternative universe. And, you know, that was the world that I grew up in. But there were checks and balances. You know, you couldn't absolutely totally stink and put stuff out there in the world. You know, you had to have something going. And I think that that's important because I just see so much garbage and I hear so much garbage. And I'm sorry that the world sometimes has to hear it.
Well, is that part of, does that work its way into what you do? Some of you worked on Nancy for many years. Muppet Babies had a lot of references to older media. Is that something that you like to put forward in your work, that sort of bring back an older kind of world?
I don't know. I think I'm just old, and that's like probably my reference point, you know, I guess. I mean, I love a lot of like new bands and stuff. I'm always listening to new stuff. But one of the things I do like to do is, if you follow me, I like to turn you on to stuff. It was always I was always very interested in where did art come from, right? So when the Beatles happened, like in '64, there was an interview and with mostly John and Paul talked. But anyway, it was on the radio. I remember I was 7. And I heard them talking about the Everly Brothers and Buddy Holly and Little Richard and Carl Perkins and everything. And so I went and found that. And then once I discovered all of that, then I found the Mills Brothers, you know, and I kept going back and back and back. And Robert Johnson, I wanted to find the art. Where did the art come from? Because I had nothing, you know, I was a poor kid, we had nothing. And my mother would turn nothing into something. And when you think about it, that's my job. I turned nothing into something. You gave me a guitar, I sang some songs. You give me a piece of paper, I draw pictures. You know, you give me anything that you're wearing, I vandalize it and charge you for it. It's true.
Well, that's one brilliant thing about the Muppet Babies, and later Animaniacs sort of did this later as well, is you brought, I think when you're a kid, of a certain age before you start getting into those teenage years, time is flat for you. You don't think of, my dad used to play Chuck Berry records for me, and I didn't think of it, it existed out of time for me. You could play Chuck Berry records and a current record and something that were decades apart, and they were all in the same space to me in that time until you get older and you start realizing where time is. So in Muppet Babies, you could introduce all of this stuff, and then kids would go, "Oh, what's that? What's that movie that you
That's
guys
so
did?"
cool. You know, like, do you know how many people think about, and you know what we were thinking about when we were doing that? Us as kids.
Mhm.
Like us as kids. But let me address that, and then I'll tell you the other thing. So, so we would think of things that were awesome. Harold Lloyd, awesome. Like Hanging Off the Clock, right? Buster Keaton,
Mhm.
awesome. Metropolis, Fritz
Yeah.
Lang. So we get those things and stick them in there. I mean, you get a 3-year-old. How does he know Fritz Lang, Metropolis, right? What's that? What's that? But it's like, what is that? Number one, it worked as a story. It was perfect. Whether you understood what it was or not, it was cool. And we were like the coolest show on television. We really were. We wanted to be. We were hip and with it. And here's why. How many people in this room discovered Wagner or any classical music via Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
Yes, including my buddy Giancarlo Guerrero, who is the conductor of the Nashville Symphony and one of the top 10 conductors in the world. He discovered through Looney Tunes, and we knew that. And we were carrying on, we put classical music into stuff. We did, we did stuff. And that's why it'll never come out, on DVD, because everyone owns everything now and no one's friends anymore. We were friends with, we were friends with Spielberg. We did Spielberg favors, When I say we, I'm saying we because, me and Carol are about it, So I'm speaking for a lot of people that aren't here, okay? I'm not taking credit for this. I'm trying to be someone that can connect with you with that energy. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that energy is still ongoing in
Yes.
any particular
Oh,
projects?
yeah.
Do you like the
I do.
the recent Muppet movies?
I think that the Jason Segel one was really good. I wasn't happy too much with the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing a nice job with the babies. It's a totally different thing, but it's cute.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of the guys that do the voices, they write to me via Twitter and Instagram and stuff. They call me Dad. I think it's really cute. And plug for humanity here. There's a company called Backpack Buddha. They do all my stuff. And I met them through the internet. I was like painting a guitar and I had bought one of their Malapi things. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I created a character named Buddha Bear, and he's out. And the book came out, and it's a coloring book, hardcover. I have like 3 copies left over there. Hardcover on rice paper, and it's like a meditation guide and a new adventure, and brand new characters that are gonna blow your mind. And there's plush came out on Thanksgiving. And for every book that we sell, a child goes to school because we get them school supplies in Nepal. And then of course, 10% of everything I do goes to children anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy of Jim, the legacy of Jim, kindness, compassion, loving each other, and like I said, if we don't have an ending, blow stuff up. Being kind and loving and supportive of each other as human beings, and realizing that whether you're Pig or Frog or Gonzo or Camilla or whatever, that God didn't put those little dots, those little lines down on the earth. those come from whoever has the most guns and money at any particular time.
Mm.
You know, God made this beautiful, perfect planet, and we didn't need any processed anything either. You could just eat whatever was growing and you'd be fine. And by the way, everything was free, and we gave and we received equally, and that's what it's all about. And I know the world's not really like that, but I wish it was. And that's what I write about, and that's what's important to me. And that's what was important to Jim and Michael and Jerry and everybody. We love you guys, and we love our children and our parents and our grandparents and people that we've never met, and every dog and every cat and every Rizzo. And you know, but Yankees suck. Just saying. That's the anyway. Yankees suck. I started getting too emotional. I had to have a punchline, but the Yankees suck.
Well, yeah,
and dudes, if you haven't been to the booth and seen what a lifetime of being a Red Sox fan means to your Muppet boy, go get one of these.
But you do have the Dodgers as well.
But I did.
To be fair.
Look, man.
Nothing against the Dodgers.
Look, man, baseball's awesome, and the Dodgers are awesome, and we're praying for. I have a lot of friends in LA, and whether you are friends with them or not, we're all brotherhood of man and women. So we gotta love them because man, they're going through some stuff, and it's gonna be a while because when you have those fires. I have an agent out there that's very, very sick right now.
Those stories are heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, see, what happens too is not only do you lose stuff, but when stuff burns, and remember this is like LA and stuff, so there's a lot of swimming pools and all that kind of stuff. So these chemicals and everything get up into the air, and everyone's breathing this stuff. And people are going to get sick for a long time. And anyway, we need to pray for them, and we need to do something for them. Prayer is really great, but throwing them a blanket and a donut is good too. You know?
And this spirit that you say you write about love and friendship and brotherhood, you just ended a long tenure with writing Nancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ostensibly to work on new projects, new animated projects.
Yeah.
Is that in what you're writing now? Can you say anything about what you've got?
Well, I just told you that I just did a book called Blue Bear.
Right.
I have a plush toy coming out, and most things that I write about that are in books eventually become other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't know that for sure because, like I said, when we're talking about the stuff even working with Jim, 1 out of 10 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know when you put it out into the universe whether you're going to cause a ripple, a splash, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I work toward that at all times. We just last year did a wonderful project with Dolly Parton.
Little Dolly.
Little Dolly, yeah. I created this character named Little Dolly based on Dolly Parton because she's so ugly and untalented. and oh my God.
Well, you live in Nashville and you see these people frequently,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
These sort of giants of
Yes,
country music.
yes, I really do. She sat on my sofa.
And this is what you're talking about. She made a kids album, and these are the videos
Wait a
from
minute,
the
I'm
kids
just thinking
album.
about her son.
All right. Well, I don't want to interrupt.
Just wait.
All right, we good?
All right. That was a good joke, though. All right.
So these were the videos that are up on
yeah.
YouTube now.
Yeah, the album is called I Believe in You, and it's called a children's record, but it's not. It's a record for the whole world, and there's 12 brand new songs on it, and I got to animate all of them. It's about everything you could ever imagine being, having to do with us loving each other and being kind to each other, and also I got to animate Coat of Many Colors,
Mm-hmm.
and that was amazing.
You also released 2 singles of your own last year, right?
Yeah,
Or earlier
yeah.
this year. Was it
Actually,
earlier this
yeah,
year?
we got 6 out now.
6 out now from
Yeah,
this year?
Yep, we got 6 out now. I got a Christmas record out called Merry Christmas Sluggo. Yeah, he's stuck in detention at San Quentin School for Boys because he punched a kid in the lunch line. You know? So he's hoping that Santa's gonna like forgive him. I was there like cash, you know.
Well, you
I hear the sled a coming, rolling around the bend. It's real funny. You'll
I
like
shot
it.
a kid at recess just to watch him die.
Yeah, no, it's like I punched a kid in math class right in the eye. You know, yeah, and it's pretty funny stuff. I think you'll like it. It's pretty funny.
Well, earlier when you played guitar a little earlier, you played some of the Muppet stuff, but
Yeah.
you write your own songs. You release you've had Anne Murray cover your stuff and Susie Boggess cover your stuff.
Yeah.
That's
I've
a big
been
deal.
I've been really lucky. Yeah, I've been really lucky. I'm a writer that hires the cheapest illustrator he can find. I'm also a writer that hires the cheapest demo singer he can find. You know, my mom, was a waitress, and my dad was in jail and stuff. It's a country song right there. So we had paper and pencils, and the funnies, and so that's what I started with. But the second I could get my hands on a Sears guitar, I started with that too. Because it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to make something beautiful. I just wanted to, get a girl to like me. Here's a picture of Tinkerbell. Here's an Elvis song. Guess what? I'm 61. It still works.
Now, in an article in the Tennessean, you talked about possibly working on other animated projects and possibly a Broadway show.
Yeah. Well, Buzz Cason, who's done a lot of stuff. But Buzz is most famous for, if you're a Beatle fan, song Soldier of Love that they did Lay Down Your Arms, right? But the biggest song, of course, one of the biggest songs in history of music is Open Up Your Eyes and You Realize Here I Stand, right? My everlasting love. He and I wrote like 12 songs for a Nancy musical, and I wrote a story arc for both a television show, a stage show that would go down in Latin America and stuff, and a movie and all kinds of stuff. And we did that like 10 years ago. And I've been so doggone busy, with the strip. The strip, it never ends, man. It's like, it never ends. And I felt like about 5 years ago, I wanted to find someone else to draw it, and I'd still write it, but I couldn't find anybody. And so I decided to wrap it up. And I did, Fritzy and Phil got married and everything, and they walked off into the sunset to, wouldn't it be nice if we were home and to it so. As I get to do stuff. Know why? No one stops me. It's awesome.
Do you consider yourself a writer first, as you just said, a writer?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. Even when I'm just drawing you a picture, on your face, whatever. No, I'm always writing. I feel like I'm always writing because there's a story in your eyes, right? There's a great Moody Blues song, by the way, "Story in Your Eyes." Milk.
Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. We got another podcast coming in like 20 minutes.
And just in case you don't know, hey, Bill, and we always, you guys always like to tell me thank you. Thank you. I was born with nothing, okay, but my mom made it wonderful. And I can pretty much take nothing and make it wonderful because of her. And I learned a lot from Jim and Michael and all the instances along the way. The greatest gift that you could possibly ever give a kid is happiness. And so that's what I've tried to give to you. And when I see you smile, it's Christmas for me. I love you guys so much.
Thank you very much. And where can people find out more, keep up on what you're doing?
Okay, I'm in room 2. Okay.
Not quite that intimately.
Yeah.
And a more broad spectrum, where can people find you?
Okay, broads can find me in room 2. Hey, I'm here all week. I'll do this with you all day. It's Abbott and Costello, man. I'm just going to go. It's a Guy Gilchrist production on Facebook and on the web, and it's Guy F, as in Francis, the talking mule, Gilchrist. Guy F. Gilchrist on Instagram and Twitter. And if you forget all of that stuff, just like go look in an antique shop at like every toy, look to see who drew it, and then copy that onto your computer and you'll find me. That's what happens. Like all my buddies that are in band, they go into antique shops, they take pictures of the lunchboxes. Say, God, look. Well, yeah, dude, I know. I love you guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Later on in the con, I went back to Guy's table to try to get him to sing one of his own songs. I didn't get that, but I did get him singing Poor Jenny, originated by the Everly Brothers, which you will hear right now.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
All set.
I took my little Jenny to a party last night. At 10 o'clock it ended in a heck of a fight. When someone hit my Jenny, she went out like a light. Poor Jenny. And then some joker went and called the cops on the phone. And everybody scattered out for places unknown. I couldn't carry Jenny, so I left her alone. Poor Jenny. Well, Jenny had her picture in the paper this morning. She made it with a bang. According to the story in the paper this morning, Jenny is the leader of teenage gang. Jenny's got a brother and he's hot on my trail. Her daddy wants to ride me out of town on a rail. I hope I'm still alive when Jenny gets out of jail. Poor Jenny, poor Jenny, poor Jenny. Cha-cha-cha. Thank you, Don and Phil. 1959, right in Studio B. Written by Bryant and Burlow.
An arrow to the head isn't always a trick.
Thanks again to Guy Gilchrist for the interview. You can find out more about him at aguyGilchristproduction.com or search for him on Facebook and Twitter. And you can visit Guy at the Northeast Comic Con this weekend, March 15th through 17th in Boxborough, Massachusetts. And thanks as well to Gary Summers for allowing me to tape my first live episodes at the con. I've got one more from the con with artist and animator Philo Barnhart coming up in the next few weeks. And if you enjoyed this episode or any other episode of the Department of Tangents podcast, please consider subscribing and or reviewing on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's the best way to help this enterprise grow. And you can find photos, videos, movie reviews, and all sorts of other good stuff at the website at departmentoftangents.com, and we are also on Facebook and Twitter. And now, this week's featured track, Still Among the Living, from Ted Drozdowski's new album, Coyote Motel. It's an evolutionary step forward from what Drozdowski has been doing with his band Scissorman. It's more psychedelic, more textured, and at times more emotional. I don't want to say too much about this because Ted is the guest on next week's episode, and you'll get to hear the story behind this track and many others directly from him. I will say the reason I chose this track, which opens the album, is that I love the main lyrical conceit. I'm here so you're still among the living, he sings. And because it features Ted's epic guitar playing. It's out now, and you can find it on CD Baby and Amazon and other places, so pick it up. Here's Still Among the Living by Ted Drozdowski.
I'm here, so you're still among the living. In my soul and in my misgivings, it's 30 years. I'd like to be more forgiving. And I'm here, and you're still among the living. Life's hard, and you make it harder still. I'm haunted by the specter of your will. Guilt and fear are not gifts for the giving, but I'm here, so you're still among the living. Past lingers in the present too. Roots you planted keep us bound in battered blue. Such unkindness, that's what I keep reliving. I'm here, so you're still among the living. And I'm here, so you're still among the living. Yeah, I'm here, so you're still among the living.
Neil Young.